Public sector worker unions are preparing to respond to government's decision to unilaterally implement a 3% wage increase after negotiations deadlocked last week. Government announcing its intention to implement the pay hike and is empowered to do it through a clause in the Public Service Act. Cosatu, Saftu and Fedusa demanding a 7% increase. Govan Whittles joining us now to tell us what we can expect to hear from the unions as they are going to brief sometime today. Govan, good morning to you. It's unbelievable that government can simply do this, saying that they are empowered by a certain clause, because what this does, it takes us back to the 3-year deal which government reneged on, and this upset the unions greatly, and that perhaps is worrying them even more now that government can make unilateral decisions like this, completely discarding the bargaining council agreement.
It does indeed, Oli, and it places more emphasis on the Cosatu's warning that South Africa's collective bargaining system is at risk of collapse. Should point out today is the implementation day of government's decision to unilaterally implement that 3% wage hike. So we're in an interesting position right now where government workers this morning would have woken up to the reality that that 3% wage hike has been increased or has been implemented, but at the same time they're preparing for their workers' representatives, the unions, to announce planned action against the government. This has huge implications for the relationship between the ANC and its principal alliance partner Cosatu, but even broader implications for what they're calling the unification of the working class under a new banner, which is essentially in the public sector unions opposed to what the government is doing. Let's get brief commentary from Richard Mamabolo. He's the spokesperson for Pop Crew representing Cosatu. That briefing happening in an hour, but Richard, thank you for joining us just briefly on this. We understand that you'll be announcing some action at this press conference. Just tell us about the significance of all three federations calling this press conference together, and the fact that the agreement, the 3% increase, has been unilaterally implemented.
Yes, indeed. I think one thing that brings us together is the fact that we've got a common challenge with relation to what government has done. As far as we know, they had pulled out of the agreement on the 3rd of August, wherein the wage negotiations collapsed. And we have since then had a conciliation process which collapsed again. Beyond that, government has decided to take a unilateral decision. So as unions within the public service organized under Cosatu, Fedusa and Saftu, we decided that we've got a common challenge, and of course we do not want to let government set a wrong precedent, because you remember that it's been 3 years now that salaries of public servants have not been increasing. And we think that if we allow government to actually continue taking unilateral decisions, it would then mean that even in the future negotiations, they would obviously determine the kind of increases that they feel should be afforded to workers. That is something we cannot accept. So
let's just get into the briefing itself. Will there be planned announcements here of strike action? And then we know that Saftu had accepted the increase long before any of the other public sector unions. They criticized the PSA for conducting those lunchtime pickets. Is Saftu part of this briefing here today?
Look, Saftu might not be part of this briefing today, but I think we do understand that every union has got its mandate-seeking processes, and we should respect that. However, a majority of our unions are going to be coming here within the public service, and what is quite common about them is that moving on from this briefing that will be held, there will be a program of action. Definitely there will be a program of action, and I think clearly government has has decided to become arrogant, and of course being led specifically by former unionists and a specific person called Thulas Ngesi, who is a Furo-communist, who is a senior leader of the party. They should have obviously looked into other ways of actually engaging with the Labour. But we are quite resolute, really. I think the outcomes of this press conference will give a clear indication around the programs that we are going to be taking. But definitely guaranteed, members are angry, members on the ground feel that we cannot let government get away with this one. So definitely we'll be announcing a program of action.
Thank you so much. That's Richard Mamabolo. He's the spokesperson for PopCrew, speaking to us on behalf of Cosatu. Many implications there, specifically on that statement relating to Thulas Ngesi, and all of this happening with about less than a month to go until the ANC conference starts. And you'd notice in the last NEC statement of the ANC, they mentioned an upcoming economic summit by the alliance, but made no reference to this dispute, which is heightening tensions between the ANC and its largest alliance partner, Cosatu. That, as the SACP also says, they don't believe that the current leadership of the ANC has the capacity to lead the renewal of the party or have any moral standing to do so. It seems like the alliance's relationship, the alliance partner's relationship, is in tatters. This briefing that we're at today is likely to expose the fractures even more and possibly give an indication of Cosatu's attitude towards the ANC leading up to conference, and specifically its leadership. We'll be here once that briefing begins, but for now, it's back to you, Oli.
Govan Whittles, thank you very much. I wonder how that is going to land with the Minister of Labour. He's just been called a pseudo-communist.